Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the translation class. Today, we are going to discuss about the process of translation and the requirements of a good translation. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. I am Ratna as the first speaker. And now, let's begin the presentation. So, for the first point of today's presentation is about the definition of the process of translation. According to Nababan in 1997, as cited by Shiva in 2013, the process of translation can be defined as the series of activities which is done by the translator at the time she or he transfers the message from the source language into the target language. In doing the translation, the translator needs to be very careful. It is because a mistake in one point can cause mistakes in another point. In another word, a translator should realize that it is a different thing between the source language and the target language. If the translator needs to translate words, clauses, or sentences which contain the cultural aspect, she or he has to find its equivalence in the target language that would be suitable and has the same sense in the source language. Take the example of English proverb that is "don't cry over a spilled milk." If this proverb is translated into a literal translation, it becomes "jangan menangisi susu tumpah." But then, since it is a proverb, the translator cannot just translate it into a literal translation because it might contain cultural aspect, in which, in Western culture, this proverb means don't be upset over something that has over or cannot be fixed anymore. Therefore, it needs the idiomatic translation to make it sound more natural. And if the target language is the Indonesian language, the equivalence of this proverb would be nasi sudah menjadi bubur, because this Indonesian proverb has the same sense with the source language. Then, let's take another example about idiom, that is break a leg. Just like the previous example, the translator cannot just translate this idiom into a literal translation, that is patahkan kaki. But she or he needs to find its equivalence in the target language. It has to be done in order to make the result of the translation has the same sense with the source language and sounds more natural. Therefore, the idiomatic translation is needed. And in Western culture, this idiom means good luck. Then, if it is translated into the Indonesian language, it will be semoga sukses. Now, let's move to the next point. It is about steps that exist in the process of translation proposed by Bethgate in 1983. The first step is turning. Turning means the translator's ability in understanding the context and content of the text and the language style exists in it. It can be done by reading the text for several times, then digging information as much as the translator could do in order to comprehend the content and the context of the text. The second is analysis. In this step, the translator analyzed the text in sentence level. It can be done by breaking the source language text into clauses or phrases and then examining the syntactical relation between one and another. For example, a child can kick a football. So here, A belongs to article, child belongs to noun, can belongs to modal, kick belongs to verb, A belongs to article, and football belongs to noun. So here is what is meant by the syntactical relation. Now is the third step, that is understanding or comprehension. So here, the step where the sentences that have been split up before will be put back together by the translator in order to catch the overall meaning of the text and be equipped with his comprehensive knowledge toward the text itself.
Hello everyone, I'm Novi. I will share the rest of the steps of translation process. The fourth is terminology. This is the step where the translator will do the effort to find the equivalent and appropriate terms in converting the source language to target language. In translating words or sentences, translator should know in what terms the words belongs to. It has to be done in order to avoid confusion for the target language reader and offensive words from the result of the translation. Simply said, words mean differently in a certain term. For example, the word graduation has more than one meaning. Depends on what term the word belongs to. Generally, the word graduation means kelulusan or wisuda in bahasa. However, if it belongs to machine tool term, the word graduation means distribusi pembagian pada skala peralatan in bahasa. One thing that should be remembered is that words mean differently in a certain term. The fifth is restructuring. Restructuring that is meant here is the step where the translator tries to make new structure in target language after the source language text has been split structurally and semantically into clauses, phrases, and words. Simply, it is when the translator gives final conversion in target language in which it is understandable for the target language readers or audiences. For example, man is a thinking animal. Analyze it word by word. Man is a noun, is auxiliary verb, a is an article, thinking is present participle, animal is a noun. Roughly, it will be translated like this. Manusia adalah hewan yang berpikir. Then the translator will do the restructuring and it becomes manusia adalah makhluk yang berpikir. The sixth is checking. Here, the translator will recheck the draft of his or her translation in order to know whether or not errors occurs in the translation. In this case, commonly the translator will ask another person to read the finished translation, then ask the person to suggest change in it. The last is discussion. Discussion is believed as a good way to end the translation process. It is often done by doing a discussion between the translator with the expert on the subject matter. For example, the translator is translating text about medical term. The translator should discuss his or her work with doctors or experts in medical in order to avoid mistranslation. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Adayuni, and now we are talking about the requirements of good translation. A translator is not only required to possess or master 2 or more languages. There are many skills and requirements a translator should have, namely the ability to understand the wider context and create meaning in the target language. Being a translator is quite challenging, and it takes talent, study, and hard work to master the translation. A translator should develop their skills, stay connected to at least 2 different cultures, and always up to date with the newest issues since most languages are living and change as the world evolves. Here are 7 requirements that a translator should have in order to produce a good translation. The first one is listening. Being a good listener is essential for being a good translator, and among the most important skills every translator should have. Always read through the text before starting, or listen fully to the recording to understand the context. If there is any doubts, relevant questions should be asked and try to visualize the message the elder wants to send. Remember that it's not about how things are said, so learn to listen and follow instruction. Listening skill can be practiced during working hours and in everyday life. Make a point of really listening to people around to understand them. Don't just give them the smart answer or suggestion that they want to hear. In the long run, this skill will help to develop better working and personal relationships. The second one is writing and reading. Writing skills in both native and target language are important. People say that being a good writer is a talent, not a skill, but it's not entirely true. Being a writer can be learned, and even if it's natural, you still need to study to perfect your grammar and use of syntax. Go to writing classes, read technical books, take online courses, and keep up with changes in vocabularies and spelling are some of the ways. Modern languages are constantly evolving and expanding the vocabulary, so make sure to be up to date all the times. Being able to adapt to these changes is vital in producing high-quality translation. Reading can also help to improve writing skills, so try to read at least one book a month in every language related to the work.
Hello everyone, I'm Ita Priyanti. Let's continue to hear our presentation. It is still about the requirements of good translation. Well, for the next requirements of good translation is the existence of cultural intelligence. If we talk about culture, there are so many terms that will be found, such as religion, language, art, manner, and others. Simply, it means that language becomes part of culture, right? So now, the question is, why cultural intelligence is important in translation? Okay, the main reason is avoiding mistranslation that is happen during translating the source language to the target language. Then, another reason is because the meanings in both source and target language are affected by cultural context. For example, the usage of idiom in English language, like piece of cake. If the idiom of piece of cake translate to Bahasa Indonesia, it will be sepotong kue. Literally, it is correct, right? But in certain contexts of Western culture, it will be meant as sangat mudah. Very different, right? That's why cultural intelligence is needed in translation. Then, the next requirements of good translation is observation. In translation, there are several common difficulties happen while translating, such as maintaining the use of jargon, phrases, and idioms which are rarely found in dictionaries. So the solution of those difficulties is observation. In here, doing observations is really important in translation because from the observation, the answers of difficulties will be found. In here, the observation itself can be doing traveling, browsing on the internet, reading books or novels, watching movie, and also socializing.
Number 6. Computer skills. As more clients require translation to be done directly on their website or through their in-house applications, a translator needs to improve computer skills constantly. When working on large projects, working with translation memorized and glossarized will increase the translator's efficiency. Invest in addition computer with the latest version of the programs that is frequently used, such as Word and Excel. It's also extremely worthwhile investing in the best internet connection possible, especially if holding online calls with clients is needed. Learning how to research online and the best resources to visit will also help the translator understanding the projects he or she translates. Number 7. Time management. Most translators work from home or take individual projects as freelancers, so learning to organize the working hours is a must. Time is money, so the translator needs to learn to keep a consistent working schedule. Try to organize work inside the house and limit distraction when working. There are many apps that can be downloaded to help in organizing the time better, so check out the best one for you. Thanks for watching.